Guided by his example, we walk the righteous path. In the footsteps of the Prophet with faith and steadfast. In the footsteps of the Prophet with faith and steadfast.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen, amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Please recite after me. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. My dear viewers of Madani Channel, welcome back to another episode of In the Footsteps of the Prophet, none other than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alihi wa ala alihi wasallam. Yes, the biography, the life of the greatest of all mankind, the peace of our hearts and our minds, the most generous and kind, the last and final Prophet and Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alihi wa ala alihi wasallam. To begin, let's listen to one virtue of sending salawat upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It has been stated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has stated, زَيِّنُوا مَجَالِسَكُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ عَلِيَّ فَإِنَّ صَلَاتَكُمْ عَلِيَّ نُورٌ لَكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Adorn and beautify your gatherings by reciting salutations, by reciting salawat and salam upon the noble Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. For when you recite salawat upon Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alihi wa ala alihi wasallam, then this shall be nur for you on the day of judgment. Sallu ala al-habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alihi wa ala alihi wasallam. Previously on In the Footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we had heard a slight background, a geographical background of where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Yes, north of Makkah al-Mukarramah we have Al-Madinah al-Munawwara. South we have the Yaman or Yemen. Towards the west we have Abyssinia. It's very, very important to understand Abyssinia was not too far. There was also the Roman and Persian huge empires at the time. So that was a little we heard in the previous episode. Now to continue from there, there was a significant episode which occurred, a event which occurred slightly before the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alihi wa alihi wasallam, which many of us would have heard of, even as children. It's something we normally begin with, one of the first stories we hear when it comes to the biography and the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah I shall speak in a little detail about this event before we do speak about the lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his name was Muhammad. He was the son of Abdullah. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the son of Abdullah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Abdul Muttalib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And this story, this event, the story of the elephant focuses on an event in the life of Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So inshallah we shall be hearing a little about this today. We've heard there was a person by the name of Abraha who came from the Yaman, from Yemen. Yes? But how is it that Abraha himself gained this position within the Yaman? How is it that Abraha became the king of Yemen? This has a slight history to it. There was in Yemen, which is south of the Jaziratul Arab, south of the Haramain, Makkah al-Mukarramah. South is the country known as Yemen. Yemen, there was civil war within Yemen. And there was a person by the name of Daws Dhu Tha'laban. Daws Dhu Tha'laban, when he was defeated in Yemen, he traveled and he went to the Romans. He went to the Roman Empire. He went to Heraclius of Rome. And he says to him, this is the situation in the Yaman, in Yemen. Give me people so that I may take back Yemen and we will be under yourselves. Whatever you order, Yemen will be yours. Whatever you wish from there, so just give me power, help me. Allow me to go rid of Yemen from my enemies so that I may regain control in Yemen. Heraclius replied, the king of Rome, the emperor, he replied and he said, the only issue is we are too distant from Yemen. It's not very beneficial for us to go there ourselves, but what I can do is the Negus is the leader of Abyssinia. I will ask the Negus of Abyssinia, he will give you a letter, give this to the Negus in Abyssinia and he will help you. So the leader of the Roman Empire, he writes a letter, he passes it with those Dhu Tha'laban and he tells those Dhu Tha'laban to now travel to Abyssinia. Remember, my dear viewers, this is not today's day and age where you could get a flight from Yemen and you could go towards, if you wish, Constantinople even, which is in modern day Turkey, and its surrounding, where you could travel in one day. It wasn't like that. Or even from Turkey, you could travel to Abyssinia in one day. No, this was months and months of travel. Yes, each journey was months and months of travel. So now the leader, he orders those Dhu Tha'laban to travel to Abyssinia and to give the letter to the Negus, to the head, to the leader, to the king of Abyssinia. Remember previously, we stated that what was Abyssinia? Abyssinia was a buffer state for the Roman Empire. If there was anybody to do the dirty work or any work for them, they were like the soldiers, whatever they wished, they would get them to do. So he now sends a letter to the Negus of Abyssinia, informing him and ordering him to send troops with those Dhu Tha'laban to aid him and help him in reconquering Yemen. Abyssinia was not too far from Yemen. There's some seas in between, or there's a sea, an ocean in between, but not very large. It wouldn't take too much time for the troops to travel. And so the Negus of Abyssinia, he sent along with him 70,000 Abyssinians. So these are 70,000 Abyssinians. They were sent with those Dhu Tha'laban. And the head of these 70,000 Abyssinians was a person by the name of Aryat. This was his name. His name was Aryat. And amongst those 70,000 was another individual whose name was Abraha. And he was later known as Abraha al-Ashram. And we shall speak more on that. Nevertheless, these 70,000 troops went with those Dhu Tha'laban. They went to Yemen. And at the time, the leading figure was an individual by the name of Dhu Nuwas, who was leading. He's the one who had defeated those Dhu Tha'laban. And these 70,000 Abyssinian troops, along with those Dhu Tha'laban, they had reconquered Yemen. They had now reconquered Yemen. And who was the leader? Who was the king? The king of Yemen now became Aryat himself. The leader of these 70,000, he now ruled Yemen. Within Yemen, there were the Himyarites. This is also a religion. It's a group of people who gained control. Yes, and these Himyarites had now been defeated. And it was now the Abyssinians who were in charge. But who specifically was in charge? This person by the name of Aryat. Now Aryat then ruled for some years in Yemen. And we mentioned that amongst his troops was a person by the name of Abraha. It said that Abraha was a short, fat man. He was a short, fat, plump man. He was a person who claimed to be a follower of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. He was from the Christians. And Abraha, what did he do? Was he detested and he despised Aryat. And he disputed with Aryat on a particular matter. But Abraha himself, had gained a huge following amongst the Abyssinians. Yes, he gained a reputation amongst the Abyssinians. So there were, from these 70,000 or so troops, there were many on the side, of course, of Ariyat, who was the head of them. But there was also a large group who favored Abraha. Yes, they favored Abraha. What happened when Abraha disputed with Ariyat on this particular matter? Then they were getting ready to fight each other. And Abraha is a very, very clever individual. He says, look, Ariyat, rather than our entire armies fighting, why don't we settle it with single combat, me versus you only. Whoever wins will become the head of the entire army. There's no point in all of this division. There's no point in splitting the army into two. It is only going to weaken us altogether. Let's, me and you, settle it between ourselves. Let's us two fight between ourselves. Whoever's the winner, then okay, he'll be the leader of all of the people. So what Abraha did, remember Ariyat was quite a strong and ferocious person. Whereas Abraha was short, plump, fat and shrewd, very, very sly too. So they came to fight one-on-one. Ariyat, he takes a lance and he charges at Abraha to attack him. Yes? And with this lance, he attacks Abraha and he hits him in the face. He slices him through the face, but this only scars him. And this is why he was given the name Abraha al-Ashram. Ashram is the one with the split face, because he had a cut going through his entire face. However, Abraha himself was prepared. He had another person by the name of Atawda, and he told him that you remain prepared. If I am to be charged, if I am in a difficult position, then you must quickly come and attack Ariyat. And this is exactly what happened. And Autada came and attacked Ariyat, and then Ariyat was killed. And Abraha, although he was a cheat, he became the leader of the Yemenis. He became the leader of Yemen. He became the king of Yemen. And this is how we hear of Abraha, the king of Yemen. But remember, what did he just go and do? He had killed Ariyat, who had been stationed by Negus, the king of Abyssinia. This was 70,000 troops. Imagine the king himself was to come and conquer Abraha. But as I said, Abraha was very, very intelligent, shrewd, sly. What does he do? When he hears that Negus has now heard the news that Ariyat has been killed by Abraha, the Negus said something. He says, I will not rest. I will go and tread on the land of Yemen, and I will rip out the forelock of Abraha. Meaning, I will kill Abraha. But the words used is, I will remove the forelock, meaning his hair, of Abraha. So when Abraha heard this, he thought to himself, what can I do? What can I do? What does he do? He shaves his head off and he places this in some sort of bag. Yes? And then he takes the soil of Yemen and he places that within the bag too. And he sends this off to Negus along with the parchment, along with the piece of paper, along with the letter. When this reaches Negus, he orders for it to be open and read. What does this letter say? The letter says that I am Abraha, I am your follower too. I am a man from your army too. I am your man. I'm your deputy too. Ariyat was also your follower. But we all must act upon your orders, and we just differed as to correctly acting upon your order. And we both fought, and I was the stronger of the two, and I had defeated him. And I'm now here for you. Your order is I'm at your command. Whatever you wish, your wish is my command. I will do whatever you wish. And yes, I heard that you made this promise, that you swore this oath. For that reason, I have given you the soil of Yemen, and the hair from my head I have removed it, for you to tread on, so that now you have fulfilled your oath too. Allahu Akbar. And Abraha, when this letter was sent to Negus, and Negus had read this letter and heard of this, then he had, because Abraha was reconciled amongst the Abyssinian people to the leader of the Abyssinian people, Abraha himself was reconciled. And then Abraha remained as the king of Yemen. And this is when we have this incident, which is the incident of the elephant. How is it? How is it that this incident came about? Abraha, as we said, he was a Christian, he was a follower of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Abraha, what did he do? He hears and he becomes aware of the Arabs, how they all, even from Yemen, how they travel to Makkah al-Mukarramah to perform tawaf around the Kaaba al-Musharrafah. And he thinks to himself, that's the Arabs and that's the religion of their forefathers. He thinks to himself, and he sends a letter to the Negus and he says that, I have done what I have done, but I will do something for you now. I will build you a huge cathedral. And those people who travel to Makkah al-Mukarramah, this house, this cathedral that I shall build, shall be so magnificent that it will turn them away from the Kaaba and it will bring them to come and perform tawaf around this cathedral. This is what I will do to you. This was him trying to please the Negus. This is what I will do for you. Him as the king of Yemen. So he builds this huge cathedral. Now when the Canaanites, those people who are just on the border of Yemen, but on the side outside the country of Yemen, on the side of Jazirat al-Arab, there was a person from amongst them who, when he heard this, and he was from amongst those people who would have control over the months, where they would change the months as they wished. That we shall hear about more in the future, inshallah azza wa jal. When he heard this, he thought, how dare this person? Yes, how dare this person try to build something to turn people away from the Kaaba? No, they had this pride of the Kaaba, didn't they? So he thought to himself, okay, what he went and did was he went to the cathedral and he defiled it. Yes, he defiled the cathedral. He disrespected it by defiling the cathedral. He opened his bowels there at the cathedral and defiled it and disrespected it, which is disrespect to the king, which is a dishonor, disservice to the king. And that is himself is telling the king, you can't do this to us. Who do you think you are? Who are you? You're nobody. This is what we can come and do. And then he ran back away. When the king, Abraha of Yemen, when he heard this, he became infuriated. He became very, very angry. And he said, I am going to go and I'm going to take revenge. I'm going to punish these people. He builds his army. Yes, and he prepares to go and fight these people. On his way, there are some people who, when they hear of it, they think, no, we cannot allow him to go destroy the Kaaba, go destroy those people. So they prepare an army. There's one or two armies which were prepared. One was by a person by the name of Nufail ibn Habib. So one of those individuals was Nufail ibn Habib al-Khathami. Nufail ibn Habib, this is a name to remember. This is a name to remember. What does Nufail do? He gathers an army and he goes and fights Abraha, but sadly they are defeated. And then Abraha continues, and not to go into too much detail, but Nufail says to him, so when he's defeated, Abraha is about to kill him now. But what Nufail says, look, don't kill me. I will be your guide in the Arab country. I'll be your guide for you. I'll guide you. I'll tell you about the people. I'll tell you, what's coming, etc., etc. I will help you out in this way by being your guide. This is what Nufail ibn Habib says to him. So then he becomes the guide of Abraha. Abraha then continues on his way. He comes towards Ta'if. And when he comes towards Ta'if, the people of Ta'if, they come out and say, no, we pledge allegiance to you. Do not destroy Allat. They had the idol Allat. Yes, and they would do tawaf around Allat and say, no, do not destroy Allat. You just won the house, you could go there and destroy that. And we pledge allegiance to you, we are with you, you don't need to worry. And Abraha leaves them. And then he continues. And this is when Abraha, he sends a person by the name of Hunata. Hunata was a Himyarite from Yemen. Yes, he sends him to Mecca and he asks him to, acquire about the people of Makkah al-Mukarramah, the chief of Makkah al-Mukarramah, go and see him, etc., etc., and then come back, yes, and we'll see if we need to fight them, etc., etc. When Abdul Muttalib, he hears of this, and then he's approached by that person, then Abdul Muttalib says, first they have their own little meeting and they think, look, are we able to fight Abraha? Are we not able to fight him? So look, there's no way we'll be able to fight him. It's better that we just leave it. Let him do whatever he wishes to do, and then he'll leave. So Abdul Muttalib replies to Hunata, when Hunata tells him that this is what shall happen, etc., etc. And then Abdul Muttalib says that Allah Ta'ala knows that we do not wish to fight, and nor do we have the strength and the power to fight. But this is the house of Allah, which was built by his friend, his Khalil, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And it is his house, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will defend it. And Hunata replied that, okay, but you have to come with me, because I've been ordered to take you too. Allahu Akbar. Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the greatest of person in the whole history, is coming to meet the king of Yemen. When he comes to meet the king of Yemen, what happens is the king of Yemen, upon seeing the beautiful, handsome face, the awe-inspiring face of Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib, remember that face had the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam within it. Yes, the blessed forehead had the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam within it. When the king saw Abdul Muttalib, and when Abdul Muttalib came to him, the king, he got worried. One, he had an immediate love, an inclination towards Abdul Muttalib, respect for Abdul Muttalib. That sometimes you could see, you could look at a man, and this person is a man of awe. This person is a man of charisma. This is an ordinary man. This man is gifted, you can say. So he saw this, the king, he saw this immediately. But then he became worried. What can I do? He's somebody who I need to respect him. So he was thinking, I can't sit above and make him sit below me. He was thinking, no, I can't have him sit at my feet. I can't have him sit below me. But then, I can't have him sit on my throne. Because if he is to sit on my throne and the Abyssinians are to see him, then it would cause other issues. So what does he do? Abraha, the king of Yemen, he stands from his throne for Abdul Muttalib, and he sits on the floor alongside Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Yes, he sits on the floor along with Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And then he speaks to Abdul Muttalib, and he asks Abdul Muttalib, what is it? And Abdul Muttalib says that you have 200 of my camels. I have come to ask you to return those. The king says, Abraha says, when I saw you, I had so much respect for you. But when I heard you, I lost some of that respect. I'm amazed, I'm shocked. Upon hearing you, I'm shocked. I thought you will speak for your common folk, for your people. Yes, for your religion, for the religion of your forefathers. But you are inquiring only about your camels? And he replies, I am the owner of my camels. I have come to speak for my camels. Allah is the owner of the Kaaba, is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He shall take care of his house. But he said, what are you going to do when I do this to it? He says, we'll see about that. And so Abraha returns the 200 camels of Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib then returns to his city and tells them, oh people, leave this place now and let's go to the mountains. But before he leaves for the mountains, he comes to the handles of the Kaaba and he takes hold of them and he says, La humma innal mar'a yamna'u rahlahu famna' rihalak. That indeed every man, he protects his house, so Ya Allah, you protect yours. And then Abdul Muttalib, he orders the people to go towards the mountains and to take a defensive position, just in case some of the troops of Abraha become excessive and they attempt to attack us in the mountains, be prepared just in case. And so they go, and he protected his camels. And it was for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the elephant comes, and when Abraha prepares to come and destroy the Kaaba al-Musharrafah, that same person, Habib, Nufail ibn Habib. Yes, we said Nufail ibn Habib, remember this person. Why? Because that person comes to the elephant. And this is mentioned Ibn Hisham. And Nufail ibn Habib, he then whispers into the ear of the elephant and he says that, kneel, sit down, O Mahmud, or go back from where you came from. For you are in the holy land of Allah. You are in a blessed land, you are in a sacred land. Either sit down or go back where you came from. And it said that the elephant, when it was supposed to, it immediately sat, it crushed to the floor. And when they tried to urge it, Nufail ran away. But the people, when they tried to urge the animal to get up, the elephant to get up and move forward, the elephant wouldn't move whatsoever. They would strike it, hit it, beat it, do whatever they could, but the elephant wouldn't move. And then when they ordered the elephant to turn backwards, the elephant would get up and turn back, even east or south. But the elephant wouldn't go north towards Makkah al-Mukarramah, towards the Kaaba. And then what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a flock of birds, as we have in Surah Fil. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Try to read the entire surah along with the translation, inshallah azza wa jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a flock of birds, each bird carrying 3 stones, 2 stones between each claw of theirs and 1 in their beak. And from a very high altitude, they had dropped these stones above the army of Abraha, each stone penetrating them and destroying them even. And it had penetrated Abraha too, but he was not killed from the stone itself. And later when his body was carried, it said limb by limb, each finger, yes, each limb was falling off of his body. And this is how Abraha himself had died and the army was defeated. But Madani viewers of Madani Channel, that's all for the story of the people of the elephant, those who tried to destroy the Kaaba al-Musharrafah but were humiliated because they tried to destroy the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that built by Khalilullah Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also accepted the dua of Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. This is one single event we've heard of today, and inshallah next time we shall hear more of the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as others, inshallah within the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to learn a little about the forefathers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This program, In the Footsteps of the Prophet, this is the 2nd episode. My dear viewers, join us again next time for the next episode. And of course, there's so much more to go. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alihi wa ala alihi wa sallam.
Guided by his example, we walk the righteous path. In the footsteps of the Prophet with faith and steadfast. In the footsteps of the Prophet with faith and steadfast.